Now for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring in a RISE analyst, Dr. Constance Ikwoko. Good morning, Dr. Constance.
Very good morning to you, Yolanda.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you. How was your weekend? Did you get that rest that you needed?
I tried to. And yourself? Did you manage to swim?
I didn't swim this weekend, but I rested. I mean, yesterday I did not step out of my house. I was just binging on a reality TV show on YouTube. That's what I did yesterday.
That sounds pretty good.
Yes, well rested. All right, good to see you.
Likewise.
You're flying solo today, but
absolutely, but yes.
Yeah. All right, to look at the papers with us today, we have Dr. UniAbuja. He is the editor, Nation's Capital of This Day newspaper. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with This Day. There we'll be looking at two stories. First, Tinubu, within hours, I lost two men I held in high esteem last Sunday. That's speaking of late President Muhammad Buhari and late Awujale of Ijebuland, Oba Sikiru Adetona, who he said predicted his victory at the 2023 presidential election. President Buhari's death did overshadow Adetona's burial somewhat, but the president has visited Ijebuland to honor a man who he said was more than a royal father to him. We'll also look at the second story, which says, Bakare, Nigeria at crossroads, calls for a revolution of core values. Pastor Tunde Bakare is speaking up on the state of the nation. He says the Nigerian system is not broken, but designed to fail. He also says that cosmetic reform will not fix Nigeria. We need a moral overhaul. He also says we need complete revolution of values, structure, and leadership, or we risk collapse. Pastor Bakare's analysis of Nigeria is accurate, speaking of a rotten, unjust system incapable of producing prosperity. At the same time, he's not saying anything new. We all know this. What is lacking is the will to dismantle an unworkable system and the commitment to sustained effort over time to achieve the desired results. Dr. Yubosa.
Yeah, first on the Awujale. Awujale, as we all know, was one of the most respected traditional rulers in the Southwest. And you also remember the role he played during the June 12 struggle. At that time when virtually all the Yoruba traditional rulers were compromised by the military era of late General Sani Abacha to support his government, Awujale refused to be compromised. So before he died, he was one of the most influential traditional rulers in the Southwest. And there is no way somebody like that will not be mixed by many people across the country. Of course, he was also very close to General Muhammad Buhari and Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You remember the role that Buhari played. At the point before 1982, Awujale was suspended by the then governor of Ogun State, Bisi Onabanjo. He went to court and he was represented by Chief Rotimi William. And while something was going on, Buhari, as a military head of state, became the head of state, and then Dakbo, Dia became the governor of Ogun State, and on the basis of that, he installed Awujale as the Awujale of Ijebuland. So there is that link between Muhammad Buhari and Awujale, and he was very close to Buhari. He was also very close to Tinubu. So I'm sure that's why Tinubu said, within 24 hours to 48 hours, he lost two good friends. Like I said, he was well respected. He loved culture. He loved his people, and they all respected him. Now, for Tunde Bakare's statement, like you said, Tunde Bakare is not saying anything new. We all know what we have witnessed in the last 9 years. 8 years of Buhari was a disaster, like we all said. And in the last 2 years, there's no deliberate and sustained effort to be able to get us from that rut that Buhari left behind. At a point when Nigerians are asking for a change, we've seen the jamboree about the constitutional amendment that is going on across the country. The Senate just finished their own. The House of Reps is also doing their own. You know, look at the money they are wasting in trying to also mobilize Nigeria for a constitutional amendment. When Jonathan was in power, there was a constituent conference that was set up, and that assembly came up with a very robust, you know, recommendations on how we can amend our constitution, you know, to reflect the wishes of Nigerians. But because of the fact that Buhari government and APC came with, you know, kind of revenge, they dumped that document. And today they are embarking on another constitutional amendment exercise. And just a few days ago, the Patriot also saying that we also need another assembly to be able to design a new constitutional framework for Nigeria. I think we've done that enough. You know, there are things that has been settled. I think what we need to do is to find a way to fix those issues rather than wasting public funds for unnecessary jamborees.
Absolutely correct. It looks like there is no genuine intention to rework this ship called Nigeria, because like you said, we've had constitutional conferences, we had several attempts at changing the constitution, which so many people think is just a waste of time. And since we mentioned the constitution review that is going on, we have to tie it to the second story we're looking at in Daily Sun. There we're talking about creation of states. So let's look at that headline. War over demand for 12 new states. Northern Cross River stakeholders want Ogoja state. Ibibio community opposes Obolo state proposal. Ethiopia state Dafinone calls for justice, growth, inclusion. Oti explains position on new state for Southeast. I mean, more states to be or not to be. We've been having this conversation for some time in Nigeria. Is further balkanization of the country into states the answer to our problems? There is the argument that the Southeast, for instance, has fewer states, so it has to be created for fairness and balance. But at the same time, other regions now want more states. So what do we do? Clamoring for this. What's the sense in this, Dr. Iyobosa? You know, what's your take?
For me, it doesn't make sense. Like I said, let's go back to that the constitutional assembly that was constituted by Jonathan. The only state that was recommended by that assembly was the creation of one state in the Southeast. You know, for the purpose of justice and fairness
and balance.
And balance. You know, if you look at all the geopolitical zones, they all have 6 states. And it is only Southeast that has only...
Some have 7.
Sorry?
Some have 7.
Some have 6.
Yes, yeah.
Then the Southeast 5. And there was recommendation by that assembly that for the purpose of balance, fairness, and justice, that they should create one more state for the Southeast. That was the real recommendations. If you like create 1,000 states in this country today, it will solve the problem. All we need to do is to find a way to, you know, to carry out a devolution of power, where more power will be given to states. You know, I give you an example. In the old Kano State and Lagos State, there was 20 local government that was created for the local government. Some years back, they carved Jengawa out of Kano State, and as I speak to you today, Kano has almost about 41 local government. Then Jigawa has almost about 30-something local government. So if you add it, we're talking about 70-something local government. Meanwhile, the Lagos State that was created in the same day with Kano, with almost the same population, still retained about 20, just about 20 local governments. So how do you define that? How do you explain that? You know, I think we don't need more local government. What we need to do is to find a way to devote power to states. So even if they want to create more local government for administrative purpose, that is their business. But for us to continue to create more states, you know, adding to the burden of federal government, for me, it doesn't make sense. Because at the end of the day, you end up not being able to manage those states. They now rely on the federal government resources to be able to manage this. So it makes the entire thing very lazy, and that's why some states today are very lazy. They are not talking about how to, you know, renovate or create more avenue for them to generate revenue. Every month they wait for federal government allocations, you know, to be able to pay salaries and do other things. For me, it doesn't make sense. Well, let's create one more local government for the state, for Southeast, and forget about other creations of other states.
Well, that's also why Iyobosa, people are talking about every state being in charge of the resources that is allocated or found within their territory, because then you do not have to go to the federal government to ask for money. But as it is currently, there seems to be that lack of fairness because, for instance, most of Nigeria today rely on the Niger Delta to finance the federal government and the states. And then there are resources in other parts of the country. So we know about the illegal mining that is going on with gold and other resources in the northern part of the country. And no one is talking about Nigeria being in control of that. It looks like the states are having a few, or individuals actually are in charge of those resources. So we have not at this time in Nigeria decided to do the right thing. The commitment to make sure that Nigeria works for everybody. Every part of the country has a different view of the kind of country they want to live in. So until we are honest about how we want the country to move forward and have that honest conversation, it looks like we're just going around in circles. So let's look at another story, Abuja Enquirer. There we have UniAbuja, that's a running story. UniAbuja, Wike battle over land grab allegation. Varsity Mall's petition to Tinubu. Remember that the Minister of FCT, Nyesom Wike, claimed the University of Abuja encroached on public land without approval or documentation, saying they grabbed 11,000 hectares. He then instructed the FCT Lands Department to carve out 4,000 hectares only for the university, saying the reclaimed land will be reallocated. The university in response claims it is their legacy allocation allocated under the military administration of President Ibrahim Babangida. Remember that Ibrahim Babangida was head of state between 1985 and 1983. That's a long time ago. So the university should have a kind of documentation, to its claim, which Wike says they do not. So the issue here now is that a university, such a federal university, needs a lot of land for long-term development. We know that. So do we need an independent body to come into this, or do they need to go ahead to petition the president on that? What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't think the University of Abuja's, I think they have the necessary document because the land was approved for them. I'm sure they have the necessary document to back up that allocation. By the way, don't forget that university is a community. In the community, you have so many infrastructures, you have so many things that should be there. So why are we crying about 11,000 square meters?
Hectares.
Hectares, for example, when university like a UniBen, Ife is occupying almost about 11,000, 12,000 hectares of land. So what's so special about Abuja that is occupying just about 11,000 hectares of land? Is university, as we all know all over the world, is a community. And so if there are no documentations, as the minister is alluding
claiming,
to,
yeah.
So I think what they need to do is to ask them to come up with the necessary document, and let's recertify that land, for the purpose of the universities. But I think there's so many allegations, against the current minister about all that land is out grabbing. For land grabbing and all that. The other day, I listened to the Senator Ireti Kengibe, who was accusing him, and he said, look, I have several documents, evidence to back up, saying that he has several documents to back up her claim. I think we should be very careful, because as a minister of the Federal Capital Territory, one day you will leave that office. But I think it's the legacy that you are leaving behind that will matter to the people of the Federal Capital Territory. Okay. He's doing a good job, quite all right, but there are certain things that you should let go. If they don't have the necessary document, there are some land in the Federal Capital Territory, especially the mass housing estate. They don't have the necessary document. So when the former minister came, he said, look, if you don't have the necessary document, please can you come back to the land department and certify all your documents, pay the necessary fee, then we can let you go. Okay. So I think that's what should happen to the University of Abuja, because it's a community, it's a university that is in Federal Capital Territory. Okay. I think it should not be treated the way Wike is trying to do.
Moving on to the Punch newspaper, Okwewolo slams Obi as Edo movement, ban ignites backlash. And race to 2027 PDP's flag bearer battle begins after Atiku's exit. Edo State Governor Monday Okowolo still receiving flack for that comment on Mr. Peter Obi not welcome to Edo State, although he now says he was misrepresented, clarifying that it has to do with a security protocol and not a ban on Obi's movement. In a statement, the Edo State government said a threat was not issued and that high-profile individuals, especially politically exposed persons, need diplomatic security measures, for public engagement. Yolanda, I don't know if you want to come in here. On the face of it, it seems like, it's a solid point. If Mr. Obi is coming to Edo State, he should inform us so that we can provide security cover for him. At the same time, a lot of people are not buying this.
Yes, a lot of people are not buying this at all, especially if you look at the commentary that has been running on social media concerning this story. I think what's interesting to note is I was listening to an interview that was done with our Arise political analyst, Dr. Sam Amadi, and he said something very interesting that I'd like to repeat. He said if this really wasn't about one person, then it should be said in a general manner without mentioning specific names. I think now the damage has already been done. Even if the initial intentions were clean, now, pinpointing and saying this person don't come to our state, damage has already been done in that area.
Indeed. And the second story there is about the PDP. Here we know that Atiku has exited. So there are talks about making sure that the flag bearer is from the south. But also we have Bala Mohammed, who is rumored to be interested in the presidential candidacy. And then, of course, Asheyi Makinde of Oyo State. Dr. Yobosa, how do you see this playing out? The person they thought was the problem is out, so they now have no excuse to get the party together.
But I think the exit of Atiku has actually, lowered the tension within the within the PDP, because that was a major problem. Atiku wanted to come back again as the presidential candidate of the PDP, and you see from the Wike angle who vowed, look, it will never happen as far as he remained in the PDP. Now that Atiku is out, I think the tension is quite reduced now. Now, who are the leaders of the PDP? Is it Wike? Is it Makinde? And these are people who are known to be, even though they are in the PDP, they are known to be working for the re-election of President.
The president. Well, the president.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu and all that.
The presidential game is totally different. A lot of governors, depending, will work for the president, but at the state level, they want to retain their party. Yeah, but I think the problem now is, if you're looking about the real opposition now, is the ADC and maybe the Labour Party. And there's that consensus. If you look at the way Peter Obi celebrated his birthday about 2 days ago, look at the solidarity across the country, even outside the country. So I think if the opposition really want to be serious about contesting power with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is to see how they can get a credible person from the southern part of the country. I think that is the most credible decision that they will take. The day they determine to retain power, give their ticket to somebody from the north, because Nigerians, whether we like it or not, is not ready for that kind of political arrangement for now. Buhari was in power for 8 years, so it makes sense if we also allow a certain to be in power for 8 years. So if you are really interested in contesting power with the APC, what stopped them from giving a ticket for a very popular and a credible person like Peter Obi, who can really match President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in all the contests? And now that you mentioned Peter Obi, we think he's on his way out of the party. Vanguard newspaper, we'll look at that in Vanguard. Why Obi Al-Rufai are yet to join ADC, according to Bolaji Abdullahi, and defection Adeleke's negotiation hits brick wall. So the explanation here is that Mr. Peter Obi and Malam Nasir El-Rufai have to complete certain electoral processes within their current parties before they jump ship. There are by-elections and selection of governorship candidates. So, the Labour Party has already given Obi an ultimatum. They told him to leave the party within 48 hours. That was last week. And then for Governor Adeleke of Osun State, this report quotes a source saying that his negotiation is not going so well. We know that some APC members are trying to stop him from coming to that party. So the point here is that negotiations happen in this context because the governor usually wants to secure automatic ticket, but this also presents a challenge, changes the dynamics and the balance of power in the party for those who are already here. So it's a bit of a crisis. Your thoughts on these two stories?
You talk about Labour Party giving Peter Obi quick notice, depending on the faction that is you are talking about.
Yeah, a faction, yes.
Yes, Abure, for example,
yes,
is what I gave that quick notice. But the other faction chaired by Esther is Nana Usman said, look, this is our candidate. This is Tabis remain our preferred candidate in the next general election. So let's see how that we run out. But as for Adeleke, I think Adeleke is going to be having this. Will have a serious battle in Osun State, knowing fully well that most of the APC leaders in that state are close ally of the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Are you talking about Akonde, the former governor of Osun State? Are you talking about the current minister for marine economy? These are close ally of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And there's no way they are going to surrender the APC structure to Adeleke. That will not happen. But unfortunately for Adeleke, virtually all his political ally in PDP, they've all decamped to APC. 2 senators from that state under the platform of PDP decamped to APC recently. Some members of the House of Reps, they've also done that, decamping to APC. So the guy is in a feast, and I don't know how he's going to manage that. But this idea of going to APC, must he go to APC? There's a coalition that people have been built from, I think if you want to, if you believe that PDP is no longer strong for him to contest power in the next general elections, he should go to ADC or a Labour Party.
Must he leave PDP? That's another question.
That's another question.
All right, we'll be watching that story for you. Let's look at the international headlines. Daily Graphic this morning. Blekusu coastline secured. President Mahama launches, protection project. We see a picture of the president operating an excavator to kick off that project, preserving that coastline in the Volta region of Ghana. The Citizen newspaper, new rehab house shock, a story of a police inquest into a dead late-term fetus or baby and fresh blood in a drain. Moving on to Financial Times, voters' choice. Japan coalition in the balance. The ruling party lost its majority in the upper house. The opposition has called the election a vote on, the crisis in the countries, for instance, inflation, immigration, and the leadership of the Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. Despite calls for him to resign, he insists he will stay on. Yolanda, a case of a sit-tight primary question is how long can he do that?
All right. And I think the most surprising thing about this story is actually the fact that the Prime Minister says he's not going to step down. And the votes that were done yesterday, the coalition fell short by 50 seats. But, he's still maintaining that we will stand by when it comes to trade and stability. And you can't talk about the progress of a country without talking about the trade and the tariffs. And this is also a key area where there's issues, because this also now looks at his style of leadership and what has happened in the years before. So it's a very interesting times. We wait and see how it unfolds.
Yeah, definitely. It's an unfolding story. So we'll definitely hear more tomorrow. Yeah. The Times newspaper, here in the Times, we are seeing the consequences of that leak of the Afghan list of soldiers who helped the British forces when they were in Afghanistan. So this headline says, Afghan killed by Taliban because brother was on leaked list. He was killed last Friday. The elite Afghan soldiers had helped the British to track down and kill Taliban insurgents in that country. Now, not only do they have to be on the run, their families are also under threat. A very tight corner to be in, Yolanda. That story broke last week about that list that was leaked, and it's a bit of a tragic situation.
It's a tragic story indeed, but I think that there wasn't much clarity in the reporting of this story concerning whether the brother was killed because he is a soldier or because he is the brother of the man who leaked this. And I think that's where we would require some clarity, especially in the media space, because anything can be spinned in one way to seem another. But just as the other story, this one is unfolding as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll be able to come up with facts so that we can know for sure, was he targeted because he's the brother or simply died in the line of duty?
No, they said he was targeted because he was a brother.
Don't forget that
elite soldier that was helping the British. Very quickly, Dr.
don't forget that the people also reported that they could not independently verify
Absolutely.
the stories, whether he was killed because he was a brother or not.
Absolutely.
So like you said, the story is unfolding. I'm sure in the next few days we'll get to know the real story.
All right. Finally, Daily Mirror. England stars a racism hell. We stand with Jess. FA calls police after a defender reviews disgusting online abuse. Football and the politics of race. Won't have time to discuss that extensively. But Dr. Irreplaceable Owogiaren, editor, Nation's Capital of this day newspaper, thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Dr. Constance. Also some wonderful headlines today.
Yes.
I look forward to what you have for us tomorrow. And thank you again. That's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.